Someone left a message saying that China is the world's factory, but the products produced by Chinese people working overtime on the production line can be directly purchased by Americans by printing a large number of dollars. So no matter how China develops, it is impossible for it to surpass the United States. In fact, the US dollar has indeed gained a lot of benefits as the world currency, but the United States has also assumed a lot of obligations. To maintain the hegemony of the US dollar, it needs a huge military force and intelligence force. The United States needs to monitor its allies without blind spots and hold its allies hostage in terms of security. Moreover, if the US dollar is overissued without limit, the victim may not necessarily be China. If we assume that the issuance of US dollars is exactly equal to the amount needed for circulation around the world, then the United States is equivalent to using trillions of dollars in military expenditures and a large amount of intelligence expenditures each year to play the role of a central bank for the world for free. In this scenario, the United States is definitely losing money. But we see that the Federal Reserve will raise interest rates at regular intervals to guide the return of US dollars and reap other countries, including the United States allies, through financial means. Every time the Federal Reserve raises interest rates, it needs to overissue currency or increase US dollar debt. So we see that after the trade war in 2018, the United States has not developed any competitive industries except generative AI, but the US GDP has increased rapidly, widening the gap with China and other countries. The income of ordinary Americans is about 4 to 5 times that of Chinese people. With the US dollars in their hands, they can buy cheap products from China from Walmart. For example, an iPhone may only cost Americans half a month's salary, while Chinese may need to spend 2 to 3 months' salary. This is the benefit that Americans get from the world currency status of the US dollar. However, there is no free lunch in the world. Everything has a good side and a bad side. Due to the serious overissuance of the US dollar, the United States has become the place with the highest consumption in the world. A basic economic cycle, the operating cost of the United States is also 4 to 5 times that of China, or even higher. For example, Chinese can spend $3 to order a takeaway at 2 a.m., while Americans may pay more than this amount to the takeaway driver. The cost of a factory running in the United States, whether it is land, labor, water, electricity, or other expenses, is much higher than that in China, which makes the manufacturing industry unable to survive in the United States. China, on the other hand, relies on good infrastructure, low prices, labor costs, and excellent labor quality to firmly occupy the position of the world's factory. In peacetime, the United States can attack and restrict China through trade and financial means, and China will also suffer losses. This is the price of using US dollars for transactions. But once China and the United States enter a state of hostility or even war, China's operability is far greater than that of the United States. China can restrict exports to the United States, putting the United States in an embarrassing situation of having no goods to buy. And the US dollar has no value in China's internal circulation. The dollar hegemony mechanism has been operating well since World War II because during the Cold War, the Soviet Union and Eastern European socialist countries did not belong to the market economy system and played an unimportant role in global trade. After the disintegration of the Soviet Union, the economic size of US allies such as Japan and South Korea was not enough to compete with the United States. The United States can prevent these countries from breaking away from the United States in the industrial field through political means. The only real challenge to the United States is the European Union. The old capitalist countries in Europe have formed a unified economy and issued the euro. This is the first time that Americans have faced an all-round challenge. However, Europe's problem is that it relies on the United States for security, so the Americans launched the Arab Spring and created a large number of refugees in the Middle East, allowing them to flood into Europe. Europe has since fallen into serious social unrest, and its economy has been in a slump. Americans continue to provoke confrontation between Europe and Russia and prevent Russia's cheap energy from entering Europe. This directly led to a sharp increase in the operating costs of companies in European manufacturing powerhouses such as Germany, and a large number of companies moved out of Europe and moved to the United States. At the same time, Wall Street continued to short the euro, turning the euro from a core role that could fight the US dollar all year round and compete for the world's currency status into a marginal role. The technology giants in Silicon Valley, such as Google, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, swept across Europe, making Europe a complete colony in the IT field and forming a technological dependence on the United States. Therefore, the EU's challenge to the United States soon became a gray history. However, China today is different from the EU. China has an independent political, economic, technological, military, and diplomatic system, and has the most complete industrial chain in the world. China can produce almost all software and hardware by itself, and is not afraid of US sanctions at all. Since the trade war and technology war in 2018, the trade volume between China and the United States has shrunk sharply, but China's export surplus to the United States has increased. It can be seen that the United States has not only failed to successfully restrict China's exports, but has allowed China to complete the upgrading of its export industry. The U.S. technological blockade against China is only effective in a few areas, such as high-end chips. Once China makes a breakthrough, the U.S. will pay the price for its blockade against China. U.S. Secretary of State Rubio said that China is a country that is completely different from the Soviet Union and can challenge the United States in all aspects of politics, economy, technology, military, diplomacy, etc. He is not angry that China has developed into a superpower, but that American politicians allow all this to happen. In fact, there may be some problems in his head. China can develop to this day not because of the mistakes of American politicians. It is because American politicians are too busy. They have to constantly suppress every opponent that may threaten the United States. In 2016, the United States really cleaned up the European Union and completely defeated the European Union. In 2018, the United States launched a trade war against China. The United States relies on its strong national strength to constantly create conflicts and confrontations, but how can you guarantee that you will win every time? It is time for American politicians to tell Americans that they have waged wars around the world and maintained the hegemony of the US dollar. However, most of the benefits brought by the hegemony of the US dollar are obtained by the military-industrial complex, Silicon Valley, and Wall Street elites. Ordinary Americans not only have to endure high inflation caused by high prices and face the risk of unemployment, but also have to prepare for a full-scale war with a powerful opponent like China. If the war really breaks out, no one will be the winner. At that time, it will be the children of ordinary Americans who go to the battlefield, and senior officials have plenty of ways to protect their children.